Welcome to the Nehemiah Entrepreneurship Community Podcast. I'm your host, Patrice Gay, and I'm here today with a great friend, one of my favorite clients, David Witter.
Hey, Patrice, great to be with you, man. And you're my favorite coach, the one and
Oh,
only.
you are kind. He is the CEO and founder of Financial Harvest. David, wow, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to today. And I don't know if I'm much of a lion, but we'll see.
You are, my friend. You are. We have David here because on Wednesday, this upcoming Wednesday, in 3 days, we're going to have David on our panel. We're having the Nehemiah E-Community Global Forum titled Raw Like a Lion, Raw Like a Lion, How to Become a King in Your Industry. And so we have 5 panelists. David, representing the financial services industry, is going to talk about his dominance in that space. And I know for a fact he's dominating because I have the privilege of walking with him month after month as I'm seeing how he's just taking, I love it, kicking butt and taking names. I mean, he's just leaving no prisoners behind.
We're
And
very blessed.
his team is an amazing team. And secondly, we're also going to have John from Tiago from Kenya, who's dominating the hospitality industry. Nina, also from Kenya, she's dominating the education industry. And also we have Anna Maria, who's dominating the diverse supplier industry. And then also Dr. Dustin Lively, who's doing it in the dental sector in Oklahoma. Anna Maria is from Florida, Orlando, Florida. Nina and Joseph are from Kenya, Nairobi. So this is incredible. And so if you've not yet signed up for the forum, you want to go right now and register. And so you want to not only register, but you want to join because you not only will learn about what it means to roar like a lion, how to be competitive in your space, and then we'll go into breakout session in French, in Spanish, and in English. And then we'll come back to a panel where David and the other panelists will talk about best practice and their insights in terms of how they've been able to dominate. And then we'll go into a connect meeting where we'll have forums where you'll get to connect with 3 other entrepreneurs at a time to build deeper relationships. We have over 1,000 members in the e-community. And so the reality is that it's all about relationships. And so you might meet someone who may lead you to your next transactions. And so today we want to talk to David about kind of go deeper because in reality, they'll have 30, 40 minutes on Wednesday. It's not just enough to get exhaustive about what it really takes, what it means for them and what they've done to achieve their dominance. So this podcast is all about David Witter in Financial Harvest, to look behind the scene, under the hood, to fully understand what it took. So David, first of all, thank you so much, man, for being willing to share with us today and share some of your secret sauce so that others might glean from it so that they may achieve some of the dominance. So first of all, let me tell you about David Witter before we get into it. He's a certified financial planner and a certified succession planner. Holds a FINRA Investment Advisor Representative License Series 66. I'm going to ask him for our international audience what that means in a minute so that you understand what it fully means. Enabling him to serve clients in a fiduciary capacity and Florida life, health, variable life, and annuity state insurance licenses. He serves Financial Harvest Wealth Advisor approximately 200 local and national and international clients. David, is this you've grown? I mean, is this still 200? How many are you now?
Yeah, probably about 210 households. And we are international. We have clients in Mexico and also in the Philippines.
Wow. Yeah. And he's entrusted with more than $230 million in assets.
That's up 240 now.
240 now. And you're going to close the year. I'm believing, God, you're going to close the year by $500 million. $250 million. So
I like $500 million too, Patrice.
You like that? Yeah, I'm sure you do. He's a fiduciary for clients, governed by the highest level of legal standards, providing care and trust for clients' assets and concerns. Of course, they are based out of Orlando, Florida, but they do serve clients all over the nation. David, before we get into our topic, let's talk about this, the importance of this Series 6 license and what it really means to be a fiduciary. I mean, why is that term so critically important to what you do?
Yeah, you would think that being a fiduciary would be common in the financial services industry, but only about 15% of advisors operate as a fiduciary when they're working with and serving their clients. So fiduciary, it's a legal term, as you pointed out, and what that means is, as a fiduciary, let's say you're my client, Patrice, that when I'm working with you, number one, if there's any potential conflicts of interest, I have to fully disclose those. And then number two is, if we have some kind of disagreement in a court of law, because it's a legal term, I would have to show that we placed your interests ahead of our own. And most people would want to like wish or hope that their financial services professional is always going to put their interests first, but a lot of them are not required to. And both the certified financial planner designation and also the investment advisor license require us to act as fiduciaries with clients. But quite frankly, you know this in biblical entrepreneurship. If you're using biblical principles to serve people, you're going to put their interests first anyway. So that was just innate in my heart, but it was a way of getting licensed and getting designations in our industry to align that along with my Christian values.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Some of our listeners may not fully understand what a financial planner is or the specific area of that you do. So let's talk about it. What exactly does Harvest, Financial Harvest does?
Yeah.
And who are your typical customers?
Sure. So, Patrice, I love the word that you use. I think it's in part 2 of chapter 1 of biblical entrepreneurship, which is, what is the purpose of wealth? And the word you use is margin. And a lot of times the clients that we're working with, they're working in their careers, and they've produced some margin, right? And so margin might be where they're able to take care of their household expenses, to take care of their family, but then they have additional funds. And so they might say, okay, well, what do I want to do with that? Like, how can I be setting up, planning for the future? And so one place that we help is with investments and increasing their capital, their savings and investments. Another place we help our clients is within taxes. So yes, we pay what we are obligated to pay, but we also want to utilize the tax code to figure out what are the ways that we can reduce some of those taxes in a legal manner, right? And keep some of those funds, keep some of what you earn, save and invest to take care of your family or to gift or pay employees, you name it. We also help out with charitable impact. So a lot of our clients have a charitable intent, a charitable heart. And you would think, oh, just write people a check, right? But there's better ways to give. You could give assets or give from a retirement account that makes more economic sense. We also help with protecting assets from unjust litigation. So those are some of the areas that we help our clients.
Oh, I love it. And somebody watching or listening, and they're saying, hey, do I qualify from being a client? Do you only work with billionaires and multimillionaires? Or so what's a target group that you may work with?
Yeah, no, thank you. So I think that you mentioned earlier on, like our team. So we're a team of 7, and Kellen Williams is on our team. He's also a certified financial planner. He operates as an associate advisor, and so does Lee Cleveley. And the way that we kind of approach this is, if somebody is referred to us, or if they're a listener of your program, Patrice, and they reach out, we're going to do everything we can to at least give them some pointers or point them in the right direction or refer them to the appropriate person that can help. And so I just encourage, hey, ask, right? And we'll figure out a way to take care of people. Sometimes it doesn't make sense for us to work with them in a long-term, ongoing relationship, but at a minimum, we'll spend some time with them, understand what they're trying to accomplish, and give them some direction on how to move forward in a positive way.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So guys, reach out. If you want to know more about Financial Harvest, go to financialharvest.com. there you can get all the information about David Witter. Uh, David, and of course, it can be from anywhere around the country and even internationally. Now, so right now there's this thing going around where people are doing day trading. Or so why would you need a financial planner? Why not just do day trading or invest your own money? Why is the financial plan important?
Well, I think with day trading, we always think about what's the intent or what's the purpose. And if you're a day trader, the purpose is I'm going to buy an investment or a security or Bitcoin with the hope or speculation that I can sell it at a higher price sometime in the near future. Conversely, when we work with our clients, we're helping them identify what is their objective longer term, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the road for themselves, for their family, for the kingdom, for their church, for their communities. And then we help identify, well, what's an investment strategy to reach that? And then when we go to build the investment strategy, we're looking at, well, what companies, as an example, could we invest in that we think are going to be profitable and increase their profitability over time? Will it produce a return for our capital over long periods of time? So day trading versus financial planning and having a long-term intention are two very different things.
Awesome. Good to hear. Now let's get into our topic. So we're talking about taking dominance in the financial industry. So, and our forum is titled "Roar Like a Lion." So let's talk about this animal called the lion. And I want to share, David, some characteristic with you of a lion, and I want to just kind of hear your thoughts about what you hear in terms of lions. So they tend to be team oriented. They can also be loners. They kill enough for others, so they tend to leave leftovers over. There are others who feed off of the lion's killings, and they don't eat their own. Interestingly enough, they're strong, courageous. They're beautiful, and they tend to be protectors. So as you think about each of those characteristics, what comes to your mind as we're talking about dominance? What's your immediate first impression?
No, two things that popped up for me there. More, one was you said that they kill more than what they can eat themselves. And you and I have talked about this before, but back in 2008 and 2009, when during the financial crisis, one of the things that I learned as a business owner for our type of business is that the top line revenue, like our revenue coming in, dropped by 30 or 40% in about a year's time, even though we were still serving just as many clients, if not more. And that drop in revenue really went to the bottom line. So our profits just were gone. And what I learned from that was to produce margin or safety or savings in the business. And the technical term for it is retained earnings, where we've already paid tax on it, but I intentionally leave that cash in the business. And I didn't know when the next financial crisis was going to come, but it did during COVID in February, March, and April of last year. And I remember meeting with our team, and this is mid-March, so the market had already fallen a good 20, 25% in 1 month. And we're worried about our families, we're worried about our health, we're worried about our clients. And I was able to stand with our team and share with them, each one of you is safe. If you continue to work and produce outcomes and help our clients, you don't have to worry about your paycheck. And I said, yeah, we may have to cut back a little bit, but you're safe. And you could see their physical posture change. It was like, okay. And Patrice, what that allowed us to do was we could pivot very quickly to, all right, how do we need to take care of our clients? What leadership do they need right now? What assessments do they need right now? What plans of action do they need to be doing right now? And we were able to move that online, doing webinars, educating, bringing leadership offers to our clients. And I couldn't do that without my team, but they were able to focus on that instead of being scared about, hey, is my paycheck safe? So that's yeah, that's the first thing that I listened. And then number two, like I listened protective. And two things there in the context of our clients and then in the context of our team and our employees. And it's very rare, but every now and then we'll have a client that doesn't treat maybe one of our employees very well. And I make it clear to them that if that ever happens, I won't stand for it, and that client's gone. And I had to let go of a client because of the way he treated two of our employees. And I think they knew that, you know, they're first, right? And we're not going to accept, you know, poor behavior or, you know, our clients not behaving in a great way. So that's one, just protecting them. And then protecting our clients, that one can be tricky because sometimes the client wants to do something they think is a good idea. And we have to stand firm and say, I don't recommend that. And you can go do it, but we're not going to do it for you in the accounts you've entrusted to us. And that's hard to look somebody in the eye, because in essence, you're telling them, I'm willing to let go of the business relationship to protect you from what I really do believe is a bad decision. And every now and then you have somebody that's adamant that they want to go in a direction that, like as a fiduciary, like a medical doctor, it's like, I'm not going to give you the arsenic that's going to kill you. But just being willing to, you know, take that stand. And one of our internal sayings that we like to say is that our convictions become our clients' confidence. Mm. And if we don't hold our convictions, especially in the time of crisis or in the time of exuberance, then you'll stand for nothing, and sooner or later they're going to get hurt. And we just believe in holding those convictions. And then our clients have been with us a long time. They report to us. It gives them tremendous peace.
Wow, I love it. I mean, a couple of things I heard from what you shared I want to elaborate on. So the first thing you talked about, your employees feeling a sense of safety, protected both in terms of job security in the lean times, but also in terms of knowing that you're not going to put the clients first at their expense, right? And that creates an environment where they really feel good about the place they work.
Absolutely.
Oh, and that makes a difference. Now, but David, so some might be watching and listening, they're saying, but you know, they're just saying, but David, that could be costly. I mean, if you lose clients because of your staff, that's the bottom line. The kind of, you know, that kind of sense of security, you know, why not just slash and dash during tough times? So how do you navigate doing that while remaining profitable?
Yeah, I think the key there is we call it an obligation to have a steady stream of new opportunities. Mm. Because if you're in a business where you don't have a steady stream of people raising their hand saying, hey, I want to talk to you about maybe working together. If you don't have a steady stream of that, then you are going to feel that pressure of, gosh, if I lose this client or if I don't close this sale, then maybe I'm not going to grow, or maybe my revenue is going to go down. But if you have the steady stream of new opportunities coming in, it gives you the ability to select who you're actually going to work with. And then by doing so, it reduces that risk of having a bad apple. You know, that's gonna, yeah, that's a saying, right? Having a client that's with you that is not treating your employees very well. So it's very rare in our situation that we have people we don't look forward to working with. And we call that the calendar test. So if you see a client name on the calendar in 2 weeks, if you're not looking forward to meeting with them, wrong client.
I love it. Here's what I like about the point you're making. So in a sense, you're saying, as a lion, as one, the part of the dominant posture is making sure that I have margin. Because in a sense, if I'm desperate, if I have little margin or no margin at all, I'm more tempted to compromise my values or to nickel and dime rather than just playing to the center. I mean, is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, and I take it another step. is that producing the steady stream of opportunities is costly. And remember, cost is four things. Cost is time, energy, money, and lost opportunity. And what I mean by that is we invest a lot of time and energy and money into our consistent marketing strategies that will produce the steady stream of people wanting to work with us. Because you could argue, well, instead of spending that money on marketing, or instead of spending your time teaching classes, right, you could be doing this over here or being more profitable. But then what I would argue is, yeah, but you're basically selling away your future.
That's right. That's right.
Right. And so it's like, to me, it's like, I want to put like a vending machine, with snacks or drinks. It's like the vending machine that I like is I have to put in 25 cents, right? That's my investment into the marketing, but I'm going to produce $1 that comes out of it.
I love it. And here's the point. That's one thing that's been very unique about you is that, many people in your business, once they get to a certain number of assets under management, they can kind of relax. And as long as the market does okay, they're going to pretty much do well year after year. But you are an entrepreneur, you're a businessman. So you approach it from a vantage point of building a practice that you can sell down the line. You do exactly what we teach in biblical entrepreneurship, building towards succession. So as a result, you invest a lot of time and money into marketing because you're always planning about the future. But yet most entrepreneurs, even those who are not in the financial service industry, sometimes look at marketing as an expense, and that they've said, you know what, do I have to invest the money? What has your experience taught you?
Yeah. Well, the experience has taught me that yes, you do have to invest to produce a return. You can't produce the return without the investment, right? But I think what you're pointing out is also a valid point, is sometimes it's hard to assess, is my investment in a specific marketing strategy producing the returns that I was looking to produce? And Patrice, you've really helped me with this, and that is tracking data, right? So if you teach a course and you pay to produce this course, right, and then you're like, oh, I generated 5 new clients from it. That, you do the math, you do what's the new revenue, what was the cost, you can figure out, hey, it was profitable, it was worthwhile. But there's no way you can make good assessments without having the data. And then you've really helped me with that early on, to be tracking that. And so then when we go to make a plan of action, let's say a sales plan for the year, we're not just blowing smoke. Like, we're not just making it out of thin air. Right. Like, we call it no fantasies, right? It's got to be real. And what we can point to is, okay, well, in the last 3 years, we've run this number of classes, like as a marketing plan, right? It produced this number of clients, and those new clients produce this amount of revenue. And then we can actually use that data to plan, okay, this is how we're going to generate 10 new clients this year or 15 new clients this year.
Wow. This is good stuff, guys. I hope you've taken notes and watching and listening. Let's go back a little bit, David. So
one more thing. Sorry, real quick. The hardest investment to make is the first one. The second hardest one to make is the second. And the reason is, oftentimes you don't see the returns until a month later, 6 months later, a year later, or 18 months later. And so the key, and it's one of those things where I had a leader that explained that to me, that I accepted it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to grant you authority to tell me how it works. And I'm going to be willing to invest and run these courses, let's say, in our situation. And the first 2 or 3 courses, I was terrible and nobody liked what I had to say. And there's going to be times when you do a marketing strategy and you get no return. But that doesn't mean that you didn't learn from it and get better. And you keep leaning in, you keep doing it. And then sooner or later, it starts to produce the returns, and then it starts to amplify.
Wow. And I know that for a fact, seeing his numbers. And David, just particularly those who are watching, listening, who are in the industry, give them a sense. I mean, each year, your marketing activities, which your core one right now has been your seminars, your event, your classes.
Yeah.
how much does it generate for you in terms of assets under management on average per year of new business?
Yeah, well, the first thing I'd say is in terms of monetary cost, we might spend $50,000 a year on producing these courses and promoting them. But if we generate 10 new clients, and let's say they each generate 8,000 of new revenue, then that's 80,000 in year one. And so you say, well, that's not a very good return on investment. You know, you put in 50, you got 80 out. But in our line of business, it's where it gets super profitable is in year 2, 3, 4, and 5.
That's right.
Because once you've produced the trust with them, that's the highest hurdle. And then yes, you have to continuously be delivering value with new offers of help. But that's where the returns get much richer year 2 on. And I would think that's the case with any business, even if it's not financial services.
Wow, I love it. So, look, what I'm learning here is that make sure you have data to manage outcome so that you might understand, because you can't be a leader without tracking and managing your outcomes so that you operate. I like that. You're not operating based on illusion. No, you use, what term do you use? Fantasy.
Fantasy. There you go.
You're letting the data do the talking. Let's take us back a little bit. So we're talking to David Witter. We're talking about how do you dominate in the financial service industry. We're talking, he's the CEO of Financial Harvest, and we're talking about what are some of the things that has enabled him to be able to, this year, getting ready to cross the $250 million mark in terms of asset under management, on his way towards $1 billion. And so David, what prepared you for this? Because you don't get up and just become a lion overnight. Like when you look back at young David Witter and then teenage Witter, what prepared that young man to be in this position today?
Yeah. Well, I guess going back to childhood, I just remember I was a competitive swimmer. And I remember that I always wanted my dad to be there. And look, my dad and I have a terrific relationship now. Well, when I was younger, he was working as a veterinarian and was on call most weekends. And so he could come to maybe 1 out of 5 of my competitions. Boy, did I love it when he was there, but he wasn't there all the time. But what I learned from that, from swimming in particular, was just the nature of being disciplined with the training. And so you could think in business, if there's a strategy that you have good data or evidence that it's going to work, then you keep leaning into it. You keep working it, the persistence, right? And then with my dad, I think I got some of my work ethic from him. And it wasn't about, like, for my dad, it wasn't about, hey, I gotta go work to earn money, to buy something. It was like, I've got clients that have sick animals that they need me. And that just was like ingrained in me. And then, and I shared this story too. My parents divorced when I was in college, and my mom was scared about money. And that's what had me take my elective courses out of the engineering school over in the business school and the economic school to learn about investments and the economy, just to help my own mom. And little did I know, it just turned into a passion. And so then, like, I had my master's in engineering, but all engineering is learning principles to then come up with ways or designs to help or invent something new. That's all financial planning is. There's fundamental principles that are always at work. The specifics are always changing, like tax law, right? But then figuring out what are the principles I need to build a plan to help this family or this couple or this individual to be successful. And so it's just relayed really well into that. The other thing I'd say is, and you and I talked about this before, there's a different skill set for being a great wealth manager versus being a business owner. And early on, I was blessed to find a group that I can learn the business acumen with, and then also working on the CFP studies and my peers on the wealth management aspect of it. But having both, I think, has enabled us to grow into a business instead of just being a practice.
Wow. I want to unpack that. I mean, you said a lot, good stuff there. But before I go on the good stuff, one would think you having divorced parents, that would have set you up for failure. Let's speak to that because it seems like, you know, leaders, people who dominate, doesn't necessarily have a smooth path all the time. So how did that incident that was designed to break you end up not having the effect on you that one would have thought in terms of your ability to prevail despite that?
Yeah, I think I was 24 or 25, and I went to something called the Landmark Forum, and I've always just been I guess, a curious individual, and a friend of mine told me about it. Well, it's a 3 day thing. It's like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and on Saturday they spend a good chunk of time on your relationship with your parents, and the claim that they made was that your parents innately love you, just like God does. God's love is perfect, but our parents' love is not perfect, and it never will be. And but it doesn't change the fact that they love you and that they loved you the best way that they knew how to when you were a young kid and they're parents and just trying to figure it out, right? And so, like, what I learned was, like, it was like a light bulb went off for me. I was like, man, my mom and dad loved me the best way they knew how to. And most of what they learned about parenting came from what they experienced from their parents. And we're in a broken world. But what I started to notice and see is throughout my childhood and even as a young adult, the special ways that my parents knew how to love me. And like with my dad, it was acts of service. Like when I would go someplace with him, like go hunting as an example, he always made sure I had the best equipment, and it was usually his equipment. But he's like, no, you take the best stuff. I'll take the secondary. And that was the way my dad knew how to love me. And when I started to see that, then it made me realize, is like, my dad loved me. I mean, he loves me a ton, right? And so I think just realizing that your parents absolutely love you. They love you the best way that they knew how to, and then you can start to see throughout your life, your childhood, even, that they were loving you the exact way they knew how to, and boy, would they pour into you.
Wow. You know, as somebody watching, listen right now, and you came from a broken environment, or you've not yet forgiven those who along the way have disappointed you and so forth, so on. And that's hurting you. That's keeping you from reaching your point of dominance. Could you imagine if David Witter would have carried that weight on his back? David, does it make a difference in terms of the things you carry in your ability to dominate a space? I mean, does that matter? Those personal stuff, that personal baggage, does that matter?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because if you think about it, if you're carrying the burdens, and this is true not just with parents, but I mean, that's why the grace of God in Christ Jesus is so amazing, that if we can ever get to a space where we can accept the full grace and forgive ourselves and forgive others for the brokenness that's behind us, you're free. And then you have the, like, your full energy to devote to stepping forward. It's like, what's next? And designing and loving and creating new relationships.
Wow. This is why we have a class called Identity and Destiny, where many have really raved about that ability. It's called Finding Your God-Given Sweet Spot. We have even team organization that take the team members through it. Of course, it's a very Christian program. And it just helps you to kind of un- deal with your stuff while uncovering your sweet spot so that you may become all that God has called you to be. And it's just awesome to hear that from you, David. So, David, so some of the things you pointed out, though, in terms of what prepared you, I heard you talk about this discipline early on. So in a sense, conquerors or leaders, successful people are able to take patterns of success from one thing and apply it to another, right? So it's like, it's not that this is not the first thing you were successful at. You succeeded at in swimming and other things, and then that those patterns of success kind of came along. But the other piece, um, Well, Sonia said, not only amen or true, she said, I'm registered for this course that begins this week. So ready. All right, Sonia, there you are. And Sonia, I hope to see you at the forum as well. Um, so, so let's talk about passion, because you mentioned that. Because I can imagine if you didn't enjoy this, you mentioned how you got into it because you were trying to help your mom, and then you discovered that it was a passion. So so let's talk about how important has that been to your success, the fact that you actually enjoy this.
Yeah, I think it's huge, and I think I worked as an engineer for a couple of years before I went into financial services. But one of the big differences is that when I would innovate or come up with designs or plans to help, well, when I was an engineer, I didn't necessarily see the direct effect of the work that God, used me to produce. With financial planning, you see it immediately. And like we had the privilege of understanding what people's lives, like what matters to them, their faith. If they Most of our clients do, they're people of faith. Their faith, their marriage, their kids, their friends that they love, their community, their church, you name it. We get to see how our plans that we help them design and then execute actually really makes a difference. And so like the skills that I learned early on, the biggest one being is the ability to learn. Taking that skill that God developed in me to then now see how it directly affects our clients and then also our team. It's so fulfilling to see how you can impact a client, especially like a widow as an example. And they're like, gosh, I have such peace now that I lost my husband because I have you all to help me. Hearing those words or just seeing like one of our team members just grow and move into a different role and lead a client and help them make a good decision. That's just so fulfilling.
So you don't think engineering would have brought you that same fulfillment in terms of, going out there working with?
I don't know who's to say, right? I don't want to bash, engineering at all. Cause some people say, David, if you could go back in time, would you have gotten your business degree?
Yeah.
And I say, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because I just feel so strongly that what I learned within engineering is what I really lean on with the ability to take ever-changing situations to design plans and leadership for clients that they embrace, and then when they execute them, it really takes care of them.
So were your parents like, boy, what are you doing? We spend a lot of money on this engineering degree. Are you
Of course.
So how did you build the courage to press? Because most people they go to school and they get a training on a particular, they get a degree on this one thing, but that may not always be their place where they're going to prevail, that place of passion. Being able to make that leap is not always easy, but that's how you're going to dominate.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. And I think with engineering, I mentioned the learning, the ability to learn was so critical for me to this day, that it enabled me that when I started taking those elective courses to help my mom, I noticed that I really enjoyed them. Like I enjoyed learning about economics and personal finance, investments and tax and that. And so that I started self-studying for the certified financial planning designation when I was still an engineer. I still even had the intent of being an engineer, like working in the marketplace as an engineer. But as I started learning these other strategies, the knowledge and the foundation I had from engineering helped me to understand how to use the financial principles and the economic principles in a way that could help clients. And then it just blossomed from there.
So in a sense, nothing goes to waste. So if you're watching or listening and you're saying, oh, I've just gone through identity and destiny or whatever, I've just discovered that maybe I'm not in my God-given sweet spot. I've got all these degrees, all this training. I find myself in a situation where I've got experience in an area other than where I find passion. It's not wasted. Learn from David because
Well, so the way I would say it, Patrice, is that we are responsible for producing a return from our learning.
mm, yeah.
And the way it shows up to me is one way to learn is you say, okay, I'm going to take this class and then I'm going to try and get the right answer on the test. Another way to approach learning is I'm going to take this course and I'm going to pull one or two or three or four things from that course that helps me figure out a new way to help people.
Mm.
And that's a whole different mindset. And whenever I'm in a learning situation, which I try and invest a lot of time into learning, is that when I'm sitting with the learning, maybe it's a speaker, or maybe it's a class, or maybe it's a video that I'm watching, what I'm always listening for is what's something new that I had never heard before, and how can I take that and then help a client or help somebody in my family or help a friend with that new knowledge.
Wow. Wow. I love it. Being an active learner and learn to apply versus just to gather up information. I think the
Yeah.
Bible has something. I think it says, don't just be a hearer of the word, but be a doer of it.
And I would say, like you said, apply it. The word I would use for apply is connect it to the help.
I love it. I love it. Bring value to the marketplace. David, I know that like a lion, lions have prides. You have your own pride. And you have a lioness there. And we know that in the lion's pride, the lioness is actually the most important instrument, most important asset. So talk a bit about your team and how important has that been from your wife to that team you have there? How important is having the right wife or husband and having the right team around you guys to the success of being dominant?
So I would say the lioness, which is Katie, has the lion. She has me as opposed to the other way around, right? So no, man, I get teary-eyed when I talk about Katie. We just got back from an anniversary trip,
Yes.
and and it felt like honeymoon 2.0. I mean, it was just such a gift to be away with her and just be with her, and we just fell in love all over again and just had a terrific time. But what attracted me to Katie, even before we started dating, was her depth when we would talk about faith. And I won't go into the full story here, but I had been praying for a Proverbs 31 wife for about 6 or 7 years when Katie and I started dating. And when I first started praying for a Proverbs 31 wife, I had, there was no thought that it'd be like Katie, right? So God he fulfilled, right, in his promise and answered my prayer. He did it in his own timing, and he did it in his own unique way, like in a special way with Katie. But what's so unique, I think, with Katie's my relationship is that she came from financial services too. And when we got engaged, we decided to partner together as a husband and wife team. And being able to come home in the evening, and let's say there is a small defeat, maybe we had a prospective client that didn't sign on and join, then I can share that with Katie, and she has a unique understanding of what that feels like professionally, and like what the effort was that we put into trying to take care of that prospective client, or if a client just moves out of state and decides to use another advisor, what that means, what that feels like. So she just our relationship has a unique like oneness that isn't just us like spiritually, physically, and emotionally, but it's also professionally. And we're on the same team, as we like to say. She has discernment that I don't have in so many areas, and I'm always eager to talk with her about maybe a concern that I have or an opportunity that we see. She's still engaged with our team in team meetings and designing the future of the firm, and so she's a partner in every sense that I can imagine. So blessing there, and then with the team, I think it's by God's grace that I started down this path, but we are very intentional with our hiring to find good cultural fits. And especially with a small business, you can imagine a team of 7. if one person doesn't fit culturally in, and you're spending a lot of time with them, it can just ruin team morale. So we're just very intentional with the hiring. We don't announce when we're hiring that we're a Christian firm or anything like that, but I think they see it in our narratives on our website. They definitely hear it when they speak with us, and all seven of us are believers, and that's a different foundation from which to build a team culture versus if you don't be intentional with the culture from the very beginning.
Wow, that's incredible. And David, you have a very unique way also of recruiting. You have a special LinkedIn strategy that you use that works very effectively, and then you have a special vetting process as well internally. So you take an approach of care in bringing your people on because of that very point. And by the way, once a year, twice a year now, we have Katie, the real boss, to come into the coaching sessions. And I always ask her at the end of it, does David still have a job? So far, it's been yes.
Yeah. She's my number one customer. I got to keep
That's right. And you know what? I'm just thinking, I got to have you and Katie here in the studio because you guys are a power couple. I mean, she's an elder at her church, co-owner of the firm, raising two beautiful children, and you guys are just doing an amazing thing, growing. And so we're gonna need to have you both. So soon, we're gonna schedule a 2-for-1 deal to have you guys here. So when you guys hit $250 million, we'll have you guys here so we can celebrate together. Is that okay with you?
Count me in.
Oh, that's
yes.
good. So
she makes me look good. I love sitting by her.
Oh yeah. I mean, how'd you do it, man? I mean, she just.
I still haven't figured that out.
I mean, no offense to David, but it's like Miss America, and then here's this guy here just kind of walk alongside carrying her bag. So,
amen.
That is incredible.
That's my number one accomplishment in life is getting Katie.
You got it. I know you're going to reach $1 billion. If you got Katie, you're going to do it. So we're talking to David Witter, the the CEO of Financial Harvest, about how to dominate financial service industry. And so we're coming to the end of our podcast. David's going to give us some feedback, some input in a minute. I'm going to have him give you some kind of how we close our podcast typically with some word of advice for you entrepreneurs. Before we do, though, if you want to know more about Financial Harvest, go to financialharvest.com. Financialharvest.com. And David has said it himself that, hey, don't worry about whether you qualify or not. You've heard all these millions of dollars, and you might say, am I a fit? Well, just reach out to them. Even if you're not a fit, they're going to help you out and provide some direction. And if you are a fit, it's a great firm to be a part of to help you think about your long-term plan, particularly for entrepreneurs. Because having an entrepreneur advisor who understands what it means to run your own business and the challenge and opportunity that comes with acquiring wealth through business is a unique perspective, because you're not talking only to a financial planner, you're talking to another entrepreneur. It's almost like getting free coaching on top of your financial services. Now, David, don't get me out of a job, but you got to get a 2-for-1 there, because he can speak to you from the perspective of having himself being an entrepreneur. So take advantage of that. Also, before David give us words of advice here, if you want to sign up for the e-community forum, where David will be there live and in living color, it will be virtual live. Just click there, the link right there. It's called Roar Like a Lion on May 26th, 7 to 9 a.m. Pacific time. I'll teach on what it means to be a lion of your industry. And then we'll go into breakout session in French, English, and Spanish. And then we'll come back, go into a panel discussion. There'll be 5 entrepreneurs that will share through a panel discussion as to what it's taken for them to become dominant in their industry. We'll have something from the education industry, from the diverse supply sector, from the dental industry, from the hospitality, and then, of course, financial services. And then we'll go into a connect meeting. We have over 1,000 members in our community, and oftentimes you wonder, who exactly are there? How can I connect with them? Well, you'll get that chance. We're going to put you into small groups where you're going to connect with 3 other members twice. So you get to connect with 6 people during that time, so that you might be able to learn ways to do business together and to build relationships to enable you to grow and develop. Also, if you want to know more about the Nehemiah Project, how we can come alongside you and work with you, as we've done with David and many entrepreneurs around the world, to help you with your business, whether it's helping you start one or helping you grow one from a kingdom perspective, visit our website, nehemiahecommunity.com. nehemiahecommunity.com. There you can learn about our training program, biblical entrepreneurship, identity and destiny, serve with love. You can learn about our coaching program, come alongside you and walk with you and implement this thing in your business and help you get results. You can learn about our Access to Capital program, where we can connect you with our kingdom investors or do direct investment into your business should you qualify to grow your company. You can also learn how to become a member. You see, membership has its privileges. And so join us as we seek to transform the world together. If you enjoyed this podcast, share it. Share it with your friends. Share it with your co-workers. Share it on your social media platform. You know what? Friends share with friends that which have impacted them positive. Don't hoard it. Share with other people. Push it out so that others might be blessed. You may know somebody who has a similar journey as David Witter, know another financial planner, or know entrepreneurs who are wondering, how do I dominate in my industry? Let them be inspired and equipped by this podcast so that they can grow and develop as well. With that said, before we close, David, the entrepreneurs out there watching and listening from all over the world, it's been a tough year. Last year was a tough year. This year, this economy is kind of trying to pick up, but still a challenge for many. But you have thrived in these last 18 months. So what your kind of, don't share the juice that you're going to share on Wednesday, but if for those who are watching and listening, they say, you know what, David, give me some nuggets. What can I do to make sure that my 2021 is better than my 2020? What advice would you give them?
Man, putting me on the spot there, right? The first thing I think I'd say is go to Genesis 1, and you read how God created heaven and earth, and he did it by speaking it into existence. And if you think about us as humans, one of the ways that we're so unique from all the other creatures that he created is that we can language. And I like to think of it as we're co-creators with God. And so it's like, okay, David, what does it have to do with business? If you think about it, whether it's a product or a service, it's all in language. Meaning like the iPhone, you could say is a product, right? But people had to talk and innovate new stories and narratives about what that product was going to be for years and years and years before it came into existence. And so in business, one of the things that's very clear to all of us here is that if you don't speak what the outcome is to be, you'll never hit it. So I just really highly encourage you to think about whether it's 3 months from now, a year from now, or 10 years from now, what is the outcome that you're looking to produce in your business growth? Or if you're working with a specific client, having them say what their intended outcome is out in the future that's the only way you can help them be successful, is by declaring into existence what it is that they're looking to accomplish. So our words are extremely powerful, and use them as God used them to be a creative force in the world for positive outcomes. Second thing is that think of gymnastics. I saw one of the gymnasts that won multiple gold medals this morning, like on television or whatever. But with a gymnast, they don't just one day wake up and know how to do the triple backflip. They have to throw the move many times and probably fail and maybe even get hurt every once in a while before they can nail the move. So in business, there's going to be times when you're trying to do something new that's never been done before, and you're going to have to throw the move and be fully committed to it. And you may fail, and you may fail, and you may fail, and you may fail, but that's the only way to learn how to produce the outcome, is to throw the move and learn from it. Because if you don't throw the move, then you're not even learning, so you'll never produce the outcome. And then the last thing is words of wisdom. Hire somebody like Patrice, because you've always spoke just tremendous wisdom and discernment to me by just questions that I ask. In my experience with discernment sometimes is I don't necessarily hear God specifically say, David, do this. But if we have a hard decision to make, and maybe it's sort of like a fork in the road, and I feel like from the best I can tell that God wants us to move in direction A, I'll intentionally be in prayer to say, God, if this is not the way that you want us to go, shut it down so that we go a different direction. And usually what ends up happening is he opens it up, and then I know, okay, we're on the right path. So that's a way that I, in prayer, can discern the way God's leading us.
Wow. I like that. So think ahead, forecast, speak the word. I love it. The life and death and the power of the tongue. Get a partner of wisdom, a coach, somebody who can come alongside you and learn to be discerning. David, that's something that I don't think entrepreneurs use enough, because the power of discernment and being able to clarify, identify, hear from the Spirit in terms of what you are to do now. What a gift. You would have thought that you would never hear this kind of words from an engineer. A discerning engineer. Who would have thought? I love it.
Yeah.
If this engineer can discern,
Yeah.
well,
anybody can.
That's right. Well, David, thank you so much, man. God bless you. Look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.
Yeah, no, thank you, Patrice. God bless you. And looking forward to working with your community on Wednesday. And God willing, somebody will take something and produce a great new direction.
Yes, I'm going to pray for you guys. Don't you leave yet. Let me read what Tanya just said. Thanks for the information and encouragement. I will begin to speak my desired outcome in total faith. I will throw the move and seek confirmation in prayer and a partner.
Awesome.
Well,
that's great,
Tanya, Tanya, let us know how it goes, okay?
Yeah.
Let me pray for you guys. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord enable you to steward those talents that are under your care. And may the Lord enable you to steward them as David has, and as Sonia is also doing right now, to steward them in such a way that one day you can hear those wonderful words. Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things. Guess what? He'll now make you rule over much. God bless you. Thanks for watching and listening.
Amen. Thank you, brother.